Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Carol,
I know you're
for
very,
being here.
you know, you're very busy, and I appreciate it. I think I'm here wanting to chat with you on behalf of lots of people that I talk to every day in what I do that feel like I'm not a genealogist. I'm not a researcher. Like you said before, I'm a mom with 3 little kids, and I don't have time. I don't know how. It's a little intimidating, and yet I've seen a big difference in the last 3 years with you here about the idea of, that stories are a part of what we do here. Can you tell me a little bit about why I belong if that's what I love?
Right. You know, it's interesting. If somebody comes up and says, I'm a mother of 3 kids, my first reaction is, well, you're doing family history just having 3 kids.
There you
You
go.
know, I mean, that is
Okay.
family history. But occasionally I'll get asked the question, if you had to answer to somebody who doesn't do family history, what would be the very first thing you would have them do? And it's interesting, my answer is always the same. Go find your grandmother and ask her to tell you about when she was growing up. I said, it doesn't start with the computer. It doesn't start with all this data and archives. It simply starts with connecting with somebody and listening to the story. Because behind every face is a story, and every story is interesting. It simply is. And so we always tell people the first thing we want to do is go find somebody and listen to their story, and you will get interested. Now, one thing leads to another. You talk to your grandmother, and pretty sure she's talking about her mother or her father and then their grandparents, and then you say, well, I can learn more about that person, and then you get online and you do some research and everything else. But we think it all starts with the story. Now, today, with our youth, it starts as much with the photo as it does the story.
Why is that? Why do you think there's the difference between the distinction between starting with a photo and starting with a story?
I just think that the youth today are so visual in what they do. I mean, they've reduced communication down to abbreviations with their thumbs. And
Yes.
so they love the Snapchat, the Instagram. They love to see the photos. They're communicating through photos now. And we have a kind of a funny saying that kids won't do anything goofy unless they can take a picture of it. They have to be able to share it, you know. And
we're the exact opposite, right? Don't
right.
catch me doing something goofy.
We do goofy and hope not to get caught. They do
Right.
goofy hoping to share. And so when you
So
realize
true.
that the power for the young people today is the power to share, and they share photos easier than they share anything else. And so I don't think we ought to make the distinction between a verbal or written story and a visual story. It's a story. And so it's all about capturing and sharing something that they can do. And so I always advise people long before they get on doing research and become genealogists, just find a story and share it. And that little thing I did in the keynote about my aunt sharing the story of my mother when he got the telegram about my father missing in action, that is priceless. That is one of the most cherished stories I will have. And it took a minute to collect it and save it and share it.
Yeah.
Imagine that. In a few moments, collected it, stored it, and shared it.
Yeah.
Got it forever.
Yeah.
So, you know, all the other stuff will come, but it has to start with that. That has to start with the tug, the connection. And those are done through the photos and stories.
Yeah. I noticed when we were talking earlier, you said about your grandson and the picture of the grandpa in cowboy clothes.
Right.
And that the next thing that they want to talk to you about is just what you said. They want to talk a little bit about how am I related.
Yeah.
And then I think that you're not begging somebody to look at a pedigree chart. They've asked.
You got it.
Now that it's like, show me the picture of where I fit.
It's all about curiosity and discovery. I mean, let's get down to the basic human behaviors here that we're engaging. We're engaging curiosity and we're engaging discovery. So the little grandson who sees this photo of his great-grandfather that looks like a cowboy, that will create curiosity. Curiosity leads to discovery. That then is fun and rewarding and has all the emotions that we like. But we need to get to the basic core, the DNA issues in our souls, and it's curiosity and it's discovery, and that leads one to another, and that's what this is about. That's what a discovery center is about.
Yeah. Did you, in being so open to the concept, to being able to kind of redefine what people think when they think genealogy, you probably don't remember because you say smart things all the time, but I remember in one of our conversations several years ago, and I asked, what can I do? How can we help? And you said, can we find ways to make family history or genealogy pinnable. And I thought, I'm impressed he knows that word, pinnable.
Yeah, I
But
probably didn't know
secondly-
what it meant when I said it. Yeah.
But secondly, making the attempt to do that.
Yeah.
And I see the attempt to do that now.
Yeah.
And you've been willing to redefine that, where that hasn't always been the case. What
Well-
has gone better in that process than you expected?
Well, I think we have to give a lot of credit to those who went before. I mean, we've been able to do things because we've had the tools to do it that they didn't have. So we stand on the shoulders of those people who for dozens of years could do nothing more but ingest pedigree charts or record names, dates, and places and find archives. It's only been literally measured in years that the ability to store and share and mobile devices and all that's been available. So just because we're doing it and they didn't doesn't mean that we're smarter than they are. We've got tools they didn't have. The generation that follow us will look back at us and say, well, why didn't they do it? But they'll have tools we didn't have. So I think one of the things that's available to us is tools. It's this ability to engage. Now, you have to design the tools to meet the needs of your patrons, because tools that aren't designed to meet what they want are useless. So I think it's this combination of having tools that we didn't have before, and then designing those tools to help the patron get what they want. Mm-hmm. Those two things, I think, are what made the difference.
Yeah, and that's been better than you expected. Has the reception from everybody been better than you expected?
Yeah, there's no question it's been better, and better than we expected, but not good enough. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but you have to create an inflection point. You have to create a point where things are different and get you on a different trajectory. And I think, and I remember the day it was April 16th, 2013, when we turned on a new FamilySearch. It was completely new, and it had photos and stories and engagements, and that was our inflection point. That was the day that we became different. And then everything from then has just been making that better. And so now we've not only seen an inflection point, but we're actually accelerating. The rate at which more people are getting engaged is actually, the rate is growing, not just the numbers of people, but the actual rate. So we're pretty happy about that. But look, we're still, we're on a journey of 100 yards. We're still at, maybe yard 20 or something. We got a long way to go.
What's your vision of what does it look like that when you get to that long way to go? Well,
I think that
what does a show like this look like if we're just getting started?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, and it's a question we have to ask all the time. But I think that, what it looks like is that the engagement in family history, the involvement in it basically becomes just a basic part of how people do things in their family. That it's natural, it's normal, it's natural. People, parents are sharing, children are sharing, stories are shared, people are recording, people are sharing. I mean, that becomes not something you say, oh, I've got to take time to do that. It's just what you do. And that's when we'll know that we're really there. And I can envision it. I mean, it's not beyond our imagination to see that, but we got some work to do to get there.
That's cool. It's not 4,800 centers, it's millions and millions of homes.
Well, Elder Cook said that, the new family centers in the home. But we always remind people, just because you cook good at home doesn't mean you don't want to take your family out for dinner every now and again. So just because you do it in the home doesn't mean you don't want to go to a discovery center and have a family experience.
And have an experience out there. And something, you can't sign in the time machine in your own house.
Yeah, and there's a social aspect of that. What we've realized is that there's a social aspect of going to a family history center that can't be replicated. And that's why more people go than ever before.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You bet.
They're giving me the time, and you probably couldn't have said anything that makes me happier with family storytelling.
It's all what we do. All what we do.
That's where my heart is. So thank you so much again for your time.